about purity, have you ever felt any pressure to like have sex? Have you ever felt like left out? PMS, the week before your period.
Yes.
How are you feeling? Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have a special guest. This is my friend Ongezwa. And do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Ongezwa, as Sino said. From Mtata 047.
Wow!
Yeah, born and bred that side. Mtata, yeah.
That can be all.
What else? Current resident PE. I'm a daughter, a sister, and an aunt. Yeah. Follower of Christ, most importantly. A follower of Christ, most importantly. Yeah, no, rearrange that, guys. Follow of Christ first.
All right, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you
to the channel. Excited for today. Excited. Okay, so first, can you tell me about like your upbringing?
Okay. So I come from a very big family. I grew up in Tata, as I said, and we are a group of siblings, 5 in total, with my parents, and I think
your parents are married, right?
My parents are married. I've been married for I think 30 something years. And praise the Lord. And so I grew up in that big family, very family orientated. We're quite close. My mom used to go to church with my mom. My mom was I think she became a follower of Christ when she was, I think, in her 20s. But yes, and then we used to go with her to church.
Was that
with my siblings
during the marriage?
Yes, during the marriage.
Okay.
So I think for the longest time she was trying to find a place where she can kind of fit in. She was searching, and then she was met by a person in town named Tata, and then she studied the Bible, and that's when she became a disciple. And that meant we were all
disciples.
Go to church with her. So we went to church with her, grew up. My grandparents also, I think Christianity is all I know. My parents, my grandparents, my grandmothers more particularly, from both sides, prayer warriors, beautiful women. And so that's all I know. Grew up in a Christian home, and that's me.
Nice.
I don't know if
isn't it crazy that it's always the women,
right?
Because I'm thinking you didn't say anything about your dad,
right?
Your grandfather,
right?
Your grandfather's like, why?
Yeah, it's strange. I think only later than my dad was, but it was really fervently my mom.
Your mother.
Yeah.
So when did the Christian religion become personal again for you?
For me,
outside of just being what we do at home.
I think God has always been kind of working my heart, because I really do enjoy like reading the Word. So even as a teenager, I was really that girl who knew the Bible quite well. But even then, it was just for knowledge, and also to win competitions. Because we used to, it's very competitive. So yeah. So it was always, because go to church and then it's like there's a competition. I'm like, sign me up, yes. I am winning this. So and then I went to varsity 2013. And I think that was when, and then going to church, even just going to Cape Town, like I think God worked everything out, because already, like just before, like as I arrived in Cape Town, my sister's friend messaged me and said, "Hi, I'm gonna fetch you tomorrow morning for church." I'm like, already? I just got here. Yeah, fika. I'm just unpacking my clothes,
fetched to
I'm
church.
gonna message you. Shout out to Upendo. Thanks, girl. But she fetched me, and then I think, then started going to church. Was approached by a friend then. She's a friend now, but then it's like, would you like to study the Bible? I was like, yeah. And I think growing up at church, I already knew what it meant to study the Bible. So I was like, I'm not ready to commit yet.
It's happening.
Yeah, I was like, oh my goodness. Because it meant, because I remember we used to joke as teenagers and say like, following Jesus, I'll leave it for my 40s, because
the 40s is like
it's like I've lived life, like, yes, please. But yeah, 2013. So even then I was just like, okay, cool. But I remember doing the cross study, and I think really just then it hit me. I was like, man, the sacrifice that Jesus the sacrifice, his life. And even I remember reading the medical account, and I was like, oh my goodness, like the suffering. And it's just like, man, this was a death I deserve. But he obediently, you know how in Hebrews it says, for the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross. I was like, and I think, that was there and then where I was like, I'm ready to surrender it all and follow. 2013 November.
I wanted to ask, since you were saying that you kind of planned to be like pursuing Christ when you were in your 40s, what do you think was the reason to delay? What were you holding on to that you didn't want to let go?
I think honestly, the life of discipleship didn't look cool, but also reason being, the church back home that I was part of was filled with old people.
Okay.
No offense to the old people, but and so it just seemed like, what?
Boring.
Honestly, that's the life I would be good. And like, it seemed boring. No shame. I'll be honest, it seemed boring. But then I remember going back to Cape Town and actually being surrounded by solid people who followed Christ, but also being like, they have so much joy, and there's so much more into this kingdom life that I was never aware of and exposed to. So I think that's when I was like, okay.
So it was like you didn't see young people.
I never was exposed to young people living that life
and seemed to be happy.
I was just always exposed to my parents, my mom, and older the aunties at church, and I was just like, okay, that's the woman of God I'm called to be.
Okay, so then you got baptized November
2013.
2013. Okay, just for clarification, we go to the same church. I want to talk about the
used to.
What? Not me forgetting. We met. Okay, let me put it like this. We met in church. We met in church, and there's Bible studies that you do before you actually commit to be following Christ.
Yes.
So there's 4 of them.
There's actually the word study. We did the word, the Jesus. Well, there was the Jesus study, the cross, kingdom, But
do that.
really, the
I think
kingdom,
that's
and then that was like ancient Kaloku. I
Okay,
think they
back
had
in the
to
day.
back in the day.
Okay.
So there was the Jesus, the word, the Jesus. I mean, in no particular order. And then the cross, and then baptism, which also
Yeah.
was light and darkness. And then there is
sin
and then the
study.
sin study, and then after that lordship. So where you and then counting the cost. Yeah.
Counting the costs. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, ancient ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's those Bible studies that basically, if someone is not a Christian, then it's more like giving an understanding of what Christianity is about, so that you can learn about you and about God, and then have that understanding of what Christ did. So you learn about the sin, like your sin, and why sin bothers God, and also what role baptism plays, and what role what Christ did, the sacrifice that he did on the cross, and all of those things we talk. But basically, it's just to give an understanding of what Christianity is about, and the principles that we have, like we uphold in the church. So I just want to explain those studies that we were talking about. All right, now let's get into that happens.
Getting into this. Let's do it.
Let's talk about purity.
Just kidding, guys. Just kidding.
Let us talk about purity. Tell me, what's your understanding about, like, when it comes to purity? What's your
How I'll define it.
How do you define it?
Yeah, and honestly, I was thinking about this actually, and I was like, Sinner is probably gonna ask how I define it, and I'm like, how would I? I think how I define purity, or at least being pure, for me, it's being loyal and devoted, or like being singularly, I might be pronouncing that wrong, focused. And I think for a Christian, it's not like devoted to a thing or something, but it's being devoted to Christ, being loyal. And so, and I think when I define it for me that way, then it removes the rituals and the traditions. Like it gets to the heart. And the heart. So it's not about not doing this and not doing that, which those are also very good. But it's about, like, am I being loyal and devoted, and committed, and like focused only on God. So I think that's how I define it for me.
Those are big words. Loyal and devoted.
Right? And I think Paul also explores this in 1 Corinthians 7, where he's like, okay, for an unmarried person, like, their matters is you just like to be devoted to God and his matters. And so I think in a sense he's saying be pure. I think for me, when I think about it, that when you pursue that, you pursue in purity. So
okay, I love that. Okay. So tell me about your because purity is broad, right? Like purity of the heart, basically, I would say if something is impure biblically, it would be there would be sin involved. So purity is basically, So if we try to be specific now and say, okay, let's talk about like sexual purity, because it says that you must not be sexually impure and stuff like that. So let's get to that sexual impurity, or sexual purity rather. So how can you tell me about like how you chose that path for yourself, or was it like something that just happened because, I don't know because why, but like, did you in your mind when you were like 18 years old be like, okay, this is what I'm going to choose for myself? And I remember for myself, just to tell a little story. I think I did tell it on my video like a long time ago. But when I was in grade 6, I don't remember how old I was in grade 6, but when I was in grade 6, there was a group of friends. Like we were a group of friends. I think there was about 8 of us. And in that group, almost in primary school, there are those kids that very forward, like bakulile, they're doing their grown-up things,
You?
And then
I was exposed to those in grade 3, and I was like shocked. I was like,
and
then
then
you
there's
guys watching.
how do you know these things? Yeah. So there's that group, and then there's like the late bloomers, like childish,
in my bills and stuff.
Those ones,
Foursquare,
and you can tell the difference because our scholar polishes down with this other group polishing their shoes, lip gloss, their hair and stuff. And today you just take your student prince school bag. Oh good.
And from school you're going straight home.
So I was in the other group.
Get you.
Thank God.
I was definitely on the other group now.
On the other group. Like I didn't care. Second of all, we made such a long story, but in grade 6, one of our teacher, she would, before like the start of the beginning of the class, she taught us maths. So before a lesson yake, she would read the Bible to us. So that's how we, even though we did go to church and stuff like in Makaya, but that's how I think as friends, as a group, we were introduced to the Bible. Yeah. So she would read the stories, the Bible stories, and then go on with the lessons. So I think it planted a seed with our friends, and then it got to a point whereby we made a promise to each other. So I ate it like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We are going to wait. We are going to. But I don't know, man. We are so naive because in our heads, like our waiting was not for umchado. It was we will wait until we are 18. And then when we're 18, we will get boyfriends, start dating, and then get married. Shame, cute.
So cute.
But
that
we
was
had
my life
like,
plan also.
you know. So okay, we made this vow, but okay, we are going to keep ourselves virgins until like 18, then we can start dating. I want to know for you, girl, was it a decision that you made that okay, I'm going to keep myself, or was it like a thing that you just found yourself, but oh, I'm 18 and I have not had sex, or like what happened?
That's a good question. I think, let me think about it. Okay, so I mean, in high school, I think growing up obviously in a Christian home, you're kind of aware of like what's expected, and you hear, I think even going to church as a young child, your youth teachers be telling you these things,
Stay
like
away
how
from boys.
stay away from boys. Like honestly, my parents, I don't know, like the only talk I had with my mom was like, boys and girls don't be friends.
That was it.
That's it. Oh my God, love you, mama. Love them so much. But and so shame. I think they probably had a hard time with me because I'd be having friends that were boys. And so then I'm like, but I get along with them, so why can't I be friends with them? But then it was just friendships. And so, but I do remember, about to disclose some information. But I do remember like with a friend that was a boy. A friend that was a boy.
Friend.
No.
Okay.
A boyfriend, yes, a boyfriend. And having this conversation with him, and I was like, no, like it just made sense for me. Like you wait for marriage to have sex. And that was when I was 17.
Okay.
Yeah, that was when I was 17. And I remember like talking to him, and he's just like, I don't understand. Like, what if then your husband then is not like very nice person and like he mistreats you and stuff? Girls don't listen to whatever lies they tell you now. But then I think even once again, I think God having that stubbornness and being like, no, okay, it doesn't matter for me if he's unnice to me, but I'm married. So, and God said that. So I think, but even then it was just like, this is what God said and this is how it goes. Like, so that's 17-year-old on his was answer. But 2019, I remember being part of our campus ministry, and no, here in PE. Okay. Yeah, here in PE, and we did a study at church with two married couples, and we did a study on Songs of Solomon. And I think that's when also it didn't just become a God says this and like kind of like a rule, but I think having respect and honor for sex, that's when, like when we did the study on Songs of Solomon and seeing how God regards marriage as this holy, beautiful, sacred thing, that sacred institution that gives people glimpses of Christ and the church. But in that, I think in holding marriage in such a high regard, I think I gained a respect for sex that it just wasn't about rules, but now it was also this beautiful thing that God had created for marriage, and therefore it is also holy and sacred and good. So that's where I'm at right now. Nothing else.
So have you ever felt any pressure to give in or to like have sex, since you've never like, have you maybe like pressure from within, not necessarily from like a person, and you would be like, okay, actually let me just get over and done with this? Because I remember in high school I was a virgin until I was 18. So I did give my props.
You did.
I did.
You did.
So, but I remember in high school, almost in like LO, life orientation, there would be those talks. Yes. So I remember me and like my classmates and my friends would sit as girls and we would talk, and then there was just like a group of virgins and non-virgins, and we would hear them talking about sex and their experience and blah, 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 blah. And there was that pressure to want to be like, I actually want to experience this and know how it feels like for myself. But at the same time, there was another pressure because I got in a relationship when I was 17. So there was another pressure from that relationship. So there's external pressures and then there's like the internal pressures. Yeah. So have you ever felt like any sort of pressure to want to be like, you know what, it's fine, I'll just do it.
Yeah, weirdly enough, no.
No. At all.
No.
You are blessed.
Girl. No. I think the only peer pressure I probably had felt was probably dating, which I also regret now, because like I even like cringe just thinking about the uneasiness. Guys, I would even just get anxious seeing the guy just walking in the passage. I'm like, why is he at school today? I'm like why? Like why? like I said, we should not meet at all.
Why are you dating?
Exactly. Now in hindsight, I'm like, why were you like? But I think then, but I think then I was like, oh, everyone is doing it, but it was, but when it came to sex, no pressure at all. Like, I think I was, yeah, honestly, my vibes were not giving me to be dating, but yeah, I did.
You were just doing it because
because everyone else.
Yeah.
But I think pressure externally, definitely, like even my friends that I was friends with in high school, I think it was a safe space, and we're all just nerds. Yeah, it's not any of my efforts. I think God has been very kind in just keeping me. So internally I was just like, it is what it is.
So you were not curious?
I wasn't. I was never curious. But also, like, if I was dating and then it came up, I was like, walk away. Peace out. It's done.
That is
so I was never curious. I think only now in this age, the big age, with 30 is just looking at you around the corner, like, yo guys. But there's no pressure, but there's just, like, I'm awkward when, like, because I remember this other time being with a group of people, and then they were having a conversation, but then I just slightly laughed, and I'm just like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. But I was like, I'm definitely not joining this group tomorrow, because these are very awkward conversations, and I'm not relating at all. So and then now obviously you become this awkward girl, because then, like, what's up with you?
Have you ever felt like left out, or like you missing out or something? Not like feel pressure, but
like I'm missing out on a good time.
Yeah.
No.
So okay, now
she's like, let's sit to this.
Curious. I'm curious, like PMS, the week before your period.
Yes.
How are you feeling? Or like the week after?
I don't know.
Your hormones?
My hormones. I think I should actually pay attention, but I think I really be normal.
Don't pay attention.
I think I really be normal. My hormones. Honestly, no, nothing. If a weird thing happens, I'm probably just fragile. Like, that's the only thing, like, before my PMS, where I'm like, you say something, and I'm like crying. I think that's the only thing, and I'm like, what is happening to you? Super weak.
So it's more like the emotional.
It's more emotional.
Side, not
No.
Nice.
Is it?
Hey, yes. I wish someone told me.
Is it nice? Like,
that is so nice. Like, listen.
Even after, like, I honestly, like, I think the only time I notice like I'm closer to my PMS is if, like, I am overly, like, emotional sensitive. But that's also very rare. Yeah. I'm weird, I know.
There's so many, like, if you are watching and you're a virgin, this is what I want to say: do not have sex. Because I wish, this is so nice. I wish,
really?
Listen, maybe it's because of experience. Maybe it's because of or maybe I can identify the hormonal changes because
there's the experience. Yeah, and then in my case, there's no experience at all, and so I'm like,
Yeah.
This is just
Because, hey,
nah.
I would want to be touched, and it's a, you know, when you're struggling with your flesh, like I struggle, especially like after the period. I struggle so much, and that's one thing I'm like I regret. I wish I just waited, because I think what, like, okay, it could be the hormone, but it's here. It's the knowledge, it's the knowing of like the experience, how it feels like knowing it. That's the problem.
Sure. So you have a reference back.
Yeah, and the memories, the flashbacks, it's a lot, and your body reacts to your thoughts, and the hormones are just yeah. So
I didn't know I was privileged.
That's a privilege. That would be that's a blessing. That is a blessing. So tell me, what do you struggle with then? Do you have any struggles?
Definitely do, guys.
What kind of struggles do you have?
I think more than anything, obviously, like, there's wisdom in guarding your heart. And I think also we live in a very hypersexualized world. And so every movie or every little thing, it's like you can hardly find anything clean. And so I think that's one thing that I need to constantly fight for, like purity in, or the innocence in my thoughts. And I think fighting for, I guess, the purity of thoughts. And so that comes with having like practices to guard your mind in that, being aware of what I'm watching, or at least aware of what I'm reading, what I'm listening to. So I think those are the things I really do struggle with. I mean, obviously lust also. You see a cute guy and then you're like, oh, he's cute, that's a cute dimple. Those are cute feet. There definitely are challenges. I think having to fight not to objectify people, and create this fantasy. But I think also, I guess, going back to what you were saying, not having the experience. So like there's only so much I can conjure up, and it's just like so it's like very, I guess that's also like a gift in itself, like a blessing. So I think those are mostly one of the like things that I be struggling with. I guess lust, and like constantly having to be very mindful of what I'm watching and what I'm listening to and what I'm reading, because books be very detailed. Descriptive. I remember actually, I think 50 Shades of Grey came out when I was in varsity. Was it 2015? And I remember, I think it was 2015. Yes. Yeah. I think it was 2015 or 2016. And it was 14 Feb. Friends of mine were going. And I was like, hi guys, I'm not going. I am not gonna. This is not a box I am willing not to open. I am definitely not going. And I was just like, why? But this is friends from varsity, so they're not Christians. So they're not, Okay. I was just like, nope, it's not clean, it's not pure, and I do not want to do that to myself. So and I remember, and then it just grew, like the brand in itself. And books, also the books were selling quite fast, and I was like, no, not. And I love books, but I was like, miss me there. I will stick with my kid books or African classics.
No. There's a best matter.
I currently am reading. Also, guys, Harry Potter.
Harry Potter books, yes.
Yes, Harry
witchcraft.
Potter.
Okay, I want to know. Let's say because you talked about guarding your heart from like what you listen, watch, read, and stuff like that. Let's say, give mistake, you're in a taxi and then they play a song that is inappropriate. You know? How does that affect you? You know, how does it, like, what effect does it have on you?
When it comes to song, it has to come with intention, and I won't say it's easy, and I just immediately and I'm like, yo, I don't listen to that song anymore. There are some Rihanna songs and some other songs, other people that like are inappropriate, and the beat be dropping, and then you're like, yo, this is a really good beat.
Beyonce.
Yeah, right. But I think with those also, like, being very mindful, like the frequency also of listening to them. And also you never realize, like, when you actually stop listening to, you actually don't miss it much. I don't know. I think when I hear them in taxis, I'm just like, yo, but I live in my head sometimes so much, so then I just
distracted,
phase out. So, but I'm not perfect, guys. You're thinking this, no.
Listen, in this topic you are perfect.
No.
There's no way. So you don't have, like, okay, maybe it's because people have different struggles. Maybe it's a me thing. Maybe it's not like a general thing, because I would have like nightmares.
Really?
Yeah.
Yo.
It comes in forms of
oh my.
Maybe it's a me problem. Like, honestly, maybe it's a me problem. I remember when we moved here. Yo, it wasn't even a week.
Oh man.
Was hearing sex noises from this guy. I was like, why? Even in like Ashley, I'm such a corner. Oh my.
Oh yeah, I remember that other.
During the day, I'm like, why are people having sex? And why are they opening windows? So I feel like, because gay Satana is behind, isn't it? Yes, people are just living their lives, but I feel like he follows me with like in that regard. And even I said Butongwini, I would be like having dreams and like this is not good. So there's
I think
maybe it's my struggle.
I think even when it comes to reference to even like sounds and stuff, it's probably like what I know is the movies, but also with that, I know I was so awkward to the other time. But I was watching a movie at a cinema, and it was very unexpected. I didn't think like a scene like that was gonna happen. But then obviously, like, what do I do now? So I was like, a cinema. Didn't friends of mine laugh? I was like, cause closing my eyes is not gonna be effective. Cause
you can
hearing the sounds. Yeah. So I was just like.
That's you for guarding your heart.
And then I was like, so that's what I actually do, even like when I'm watching by myself, and not necessarily do you intentionally choose something, but like it comes unexpected, and then you're just like fast forward, then if it's like buffering, and you're just like, yo. Because I feel like I need to be consistent even when I'm by myself. So it's like, so it's like,
hold yourself accountable.
Yeah, so
that's good.
Yeah, guys.
That's good. So you've never consumed like pornography and stuff. No. Look at you.
No, honestly.
Sitting next to it.
Oh no! Let it be on record. I am not. God has been kind.
You know what?
No.
Angel Gabriel.
No.
You know, like
No.
these questions even don't like they don't matter anymore because they're not relevant. Oh guys, bye.
What was the question?
Okay. So your most like struggle is preventing yourself from hearing things. Like even if sometimes you want to hear that song, but you have to sacrifice.
Yeah, I think.
that.
Yeah, I mean the times where you listen to it and then you're like, no. I'll make an example. There's this one song by an artist that I will not mention. But the cello in that song, so good, and the bass. So the times where I'm like, this is such a dope album. And then I think, and then you're like, you listen to it, but then it's like, definitely can't binge on it and consume it because it's not. Yeah, I think there's also another song where by a very famous artist where it's like, and then you kind of like get these thoughts and you're like, then when I'm married and then I dance.
So you fantasize.
And my imagination was very good. So it's like, then when I'm married and then you dance, you do. So I think those are the things that, well, at least then I do struggle with, and so having to be mindful of it, like creating these movies and these fantasies in my head. And so in as much as I'm not binging, I'm not watching porn and quite very mindful of even what I watch, but there is some exposure, and so sometimes it can be so easy to create this fantasy in your head, and then you're like, and then you need to like kind of snap out of it, and I think the one scripture that's like to hold captive your thoughts and make them obedient to Christ. It's the constantly like I live in that scripture.
What heart posture should we have as young people who are like single?
Heart posture.
Yeah. Like in our single seasons.
Hey, I think one of surrender.
Because you do desire to be married.
Yeah,
right?
honestly, definitely. I think one of surrender. It's just like a continuous, like constantly having, humility and surrender. And living very open-handedly, like with your plans. And then also we're joking about being married by 25 with a house and a car and kids. Hey, guys have passed those ages.
And it's not happening.
None in sight. None in sight. And we
How does that feel? Honestly.
I think some days it sucks, for lack of a better formal word. And then some days it makes sense, because then I'm always just, or maybe I want it to make sense because I'm like, okay, I'm still at school, Lord. I'm still just finishing up. yeah, like maybe, oh, I do not have myself figured out yet, so still a lot of learning and growing that needs to be done. And you ever try reasoning it, and then you're like, okay, I get it, yeah, see. And then sometimes it's like, no, my God, I'm like, no, Lord, I need you to go. Exactly. Especially but chata when at 21
nothing figured out.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes it sucks, but then I think, yeah, learning to, and hence once again the humility posture and surrender, constantly just I guess giving it to God. I honestly though don't do that perfectly sometimes. Yeah, or at least like being very like honest and vulnerable to God about like my feelings. And so I guess also coming from like like a or at least let me not say typical, cause maybe it's just my family, but like we like being very vulnerable and real with how you feel growing up. It was never like a very like thing. I think it's a thing once you're old. It's a thing once you're older. You're like, I actually feel like this. Where you, I think I'm honest with my parents now. Like this is what I'm feeling and this is what I'm thinking. And there's also room for them to listen. I don't know. Maybe it comes with the age that I've earned the respect for them to listen, to pause and be like, okay, we hear you. And so I think I can definitely come with that tendency with my relationship with God, where it's just like, hey, your will, your way, okay? Where then it sometimes can feel like, is my voice really, does it really matter? Is it or then kind of forcing myself to, it's like, this is your will and this is your way, so I need to, what I say on is what's right. And so I think having to relearn like your voice,
and you know what,
it matters.
We most times we treat God how, like, we project our relationship with our parents like to God. Like how you would respond to your father is most likely how you respond to God. And
definitely. So, and like having Gengoku to relearn and be like, God is actually not like my earthly dad. Like he's very, very different. He's perfect. He's good. His intentions are always good.
He wants everything. Your emotions, your entire emotions, what you feel, because that's what David did in the book of Psalms. He gave God everything, and he respectfully, but he gave God everything. He felt like, if he would feel disappointed, he feel like, God, why are people who are ungodly prospering and I'm not? Like, he said everything that he felt before God. But I love that he would acknowledge that, but I know that
and then he would go back to the fact and the reality of it. Love it.
The two are not mutually exclusive.
They're not at all.
God can be good and you can still feel
yes. And that's what the Psalms are basically. Like, I'm thinking even with the Psalm 73, one of my favorite Psalms, where he's just going through the house and he's shouting and it's just, but then he's like, but I look at your sanctuary. And I think every time, like, I that one, it's like when we fix our eyes back into Jesus, it's like, man, like perspective changes. And so even in that changes how he sees things after he looked at into like.
Also, I think it's as Christians, we do have this tendency of denying our human nature. So we try not to feel emotions, because emotions are not bad or good. Like, emotions are just emotions. They they are more like a response to what is going on in the real world. You feel based on what's going on. So we can have this tendency of trying to deny those emotions and that reality that we're living in. And I think the purpose of the Bible is for us to know the character of God. And when we know the character of God, we are almost like sure of this is who God is, and it doesn't change based on our circumstances, our realities or whatever. This is who God is, because he has proven in his word that he is faithful, he is what. But then at the same time, like, we can acknowledge how we feel, because this is my reality. This is, I thought I would be married by now, but I'm not. This is my reality and I'm feeling this way. But God is, because God sees everything, he's sovereign. He knows what he's doing. He's making everything work together for my good. So you can reconcile both those things, and it's not like you need to, if you feel like this, you don't trust God. It's not like, you know. Yeah. So what would you say to 17-year-old Ongezo?
Don't do it. Don't date. Honestly, just walk away. I think one of the cringiest things, definitely for me, that I am always just like, why? I guess regretting the decision to date.
Was that your only relationship?
Do I reserve the right to not answer that question?
Yes or no?
No. Okay, in high school it was the only.
Your first one.
But in grade 8 I did have. But also, guys, I think we should let's please. I think if you dated in high school, it was never a real relationship. Would you call this like, okay, in grade 8? No, I'm gonna paint my scenario.
Okay.
My scenario. I didn't have a phone, right? Only got my first phone when I went to varsity. So we were not talking on the phone. We couldn't see each other because I left school and go home because already, and not even maybe because, like, even to a point where
sorry guys, we had to change
positions.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so I didn't get a phone until like varsity, right?
Yeah.
So whenever, especially like this one, we're not even in the same school.
So we had to burn up.
Exactly. That's why he dumped me.
Like, what are you guys doing?
Because that one day, I think the one day where he was so excited to see me in town, and then Nakona was like, I need to go home.
This generation is different though, because they have phones from a
very
young age.
Right.
But just besides the circumstances, like difficulties,
it was
like dating in high school is a waste of time.
It is a waste
and
of time.
Heartbreak, Sana.
Yeah.
Like, why? Okay. Parting words can go to young people.
Fellow young people
who are maybe considering, whether Christian or non-Christian, but who are maybe considering following Christ, or like maybe someone is already Christian but they're not sexually pure. Like, what encouraging words would you say to those people?
I mean, firstly, if you're not following Christ yet and Jesus is not Lord, I would say make him Lord. He's good. Like there's a verse in, is it Matthew? I could be wrong. It's Matthew 11. Woo! Praise the Lord. Where Jesus says that all that are weary and tired, and that they must come follow him. That his yoke is light. It's still a yoke. It's still a burden. But it's so much easier. Not that it's easy in the sense that it's easy, but there's no trauma and baggage and pain that we could so easily be safeguarded from in following him. So I think if you not a follower of Christ, I think definitely he's so good, and he loves you. Follow him, surrender, make him Lord of your life. And to a Christian who is not sexually pure, or at least you are waiting and it's tough, I think I would say, like, Jesus ethics, sexual ethics are good. Like, when God was like created everything, he's like, it's very good, it was good. It is for a reason and a purpose that God wants us to wait. And it is good. He's good, he's loving, and he's so kind, and he will walk with you through all of this. And I think one thing that I always remind myself, it's like, as well, if God the Father did not withhold his son and gave him up, and if Jesus did not withhold his life and he obediently died on the cross, then why would he hold up this thing, any good gift from you? So I think that's always what I like comfort myself with, or yet remind myself of that truth. So soldier on, guys. Go raffle sometimes, but just I think.
But I think just on. And sorry to cut you off, but there's nothing like, whether you're sexually active or you are not, there is some sort of so you just have to choose your battle. Which battle? Yeah, because it's not like it's easy on the other side. Yeah, it's not. We hear stories every day. People are getting hurt. They are getting like not fulfilled, or whatever the case may be, but it's just a matter of you choose your battles. Nothing is easy in life. That's how it is, and Christ never promised us an easy life. But it's just that things will be hard this side, things will be hard this side also, but you just have to choose. And the advantage is that with Christ, we know that he does not leave and abandon us just like that. He walks with us. He walks with us. He gives us the strength. The Holy Spirit is there to comfort us, to give us peace, and so he's the one. He's the one who makes us pure. He's the one who makes us blameless. Definitely. It's not our own efforts. All right, thank you so much for coming here and sharing your life with me, and I really appreciate it. I know that this is my platform, and I knew what I was getting myself into when I started this channel, but then I dragged you into it. She dragged all of us. I'm dragging everyone into it. I'm dragging every guest. I'm expecting more of our friends coming. So I'm really grateful for like you being willing to be a part of it and be like, you know what, there's no boundaries, you can ask me anything. I truly appreciate that. So thank you so much for coming and for doing this video with me. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. It was fun. Thank you. It was fun. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Please do subscribe and share this video. You never know if someone needs to hear and be encouraged on this topic. So please do share with your friends. Bye. Bye. Wait. It's a heart. Did you see it? It's a heart. Oh. Bye. This is my first time. Really? It's
it's a heart. Korean people, with a heart. You can definitely tell I'm a K-drama girl.
Yes. Bye guys.
Bye.